All right, so we're live. It is a little late. I'm a little late tonight. It is about 1:10. Hey Paula, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you in the chat. I think we're changing the clocks back tonight, so technically it's only 12 o'clock, but I could be wrong. Hope everybody's doing well. Let me play my intro, and I'll kind of be right back. Good to see everybody. Hey Miranda, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see Miranda here. Hey Miranda, how are you? I hope you're feeling good. Hope you're feeling better. I'll be right back, guys. All right, so it is. Hey, Marv, how are you? Good to see Marvin here. Curious Contrarian, how are you? Good to see you. Miranda Lee's here. Paula's here. Good to see everybody. What a freaking week. Um, uh, Probably 25 degrees out. It's very cold here. So I am inside. I'm definitely not going to be outside tonight. It's bone chilling cold already here. But good to see everybody here in the chat. We're going to go over the debacle case here first, probably the Delphi stuff. And then I want to get into the update on the Mica Miller case and then some of the missing person case of the week for Typhini Johnson. But hope everybody's doing well. Hope Miranda's doing well. Good to see Miranda here in the chat. Getting a cold from sleeping outside. Yeah, that'll do it. I know one thing, it's cold here. I don't know what it's like over there. Oh, you're welcome. It's always good to see Miranda here in the chat. All right, so I got everything lined up. We're going to go first. I'm going to take care of this Delphi stuff really quick. Quick information on the Delphi thing. Surprise, the trail cam. It's like, what the fuck? 32. It's 32 there tonight. Yeah, it's cold. It's been cold. And it was, what was it, 70, I think, here yesterday. Or what's yesterday? Friday? So Thursday it was 70, and now it's 25. So that'll do it. All right, let me get rid of my face here, and we'll go here. Hold on a second. We'll go to this here. So here. Go to Vinny here first. And I'll start this from the beginning. So here we go. Good to see everybody here tonight, though.
End up dead in a small Indiana town. The suspect has been arrested, but do investigators have the right man? Here's the story. It was an unseasonably warm February day in 2017 in the small rural town.
You know, my opinion, the trail cam is really weird because I think it was it 2 or 3 years ago? I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. I saw a guy that was I don't know if he was covering a case. I think he wrote a book, about the case. He was writing a book about the case, and I forgot where I saw it. But he had mentioned something back then about a trail cam, and everybody thought he was crazy. But apparently he wasn't, because there was a trail cam. I mean, this is I'm pretty sure this is Hunter's Paradise here, so I would guess that there's a trail cam out there. Plus, it's private property stuff, so I'd like to see that.
Town of Delphi, Indiana. It's not a place where you worry when your teenage kids decide to go on an adventure. So when Abby Williams and her best friend Libby German decided to go on a hike near the Monon High Bridge in the middle of the day.
Yeah, you couldn't force me to go to that trial. I mean, it's no way. Absolutely no way. I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't make it a day in that courtroom. No way. You imagine the jury. You just set your clocks back. So it is tonight. I can just imagine the jury. Jury duty is not easy.
No one thought it was dangerous. But when Libby and Abby did not show up for their ride home, their families began to worry and they began to search. Then the next day, the worst news possible. The bodies of these two girls were found.
The other thing I'm going to say is, hey, Lady Monet, how are you? Good to see you. This could be one of the most botched investigations ever. That's just my opinion. It's and I think I try to give law enforcement the benefit of the doubt the most time, but this case here, and I don't know why, because they had the resources, they had everything, but I think it was two things. I think it was an ego problem, and I don't think they wanted to spend a lot of money in this thing here.
Both victims of murder, their throats slashed, one girl naked and the other wearing her friend's clothes. As the investigation progressed over 5 years, there were sketches of a suspect, but it looked like two different people. There was also a grainy video of the killer. Then finally, an arrest of the accused murderer, Richard Allen. Allen says he didn't do it, and he also alleges that it was a group of Odinists who were actually responsible for this ritualistic killing. But prosecutors believe they have the evidence.
Yeah, I agree with that. Marv wrote for the family saying they were not showing it to preserve his dignity. And what about the dignity of the girls? But I mean, depending on where you are with this thing, on which side of the fence. Hey, Lighting the Way Home, good to see you. He's not guilty yet. So, I mean, I think he's guilty, but
to convict Allen, including 61 alleged confessions. Will Abby and Libby get justice?
61 confessions, alleged confessions, big part of the evidence in the case against Richard Allen. Confessions are direct evidence of the crime. So let's talk about one confession, and this may be the most important alleged confession made by Richard Allen. It's to Dr. Monica Walla, who is a prison psychologist. So she gets up on the stand and describes this alleged confession by Richard Allen, and it's detailed. Let's take a look. Richard Allen's alleged detailed confession about the day of the murders. Allen went to his parents' house but did not join them for lunch. He bought a 6-pack of beer. He went to the trails. He saw the girls on the trails and followed them across the bridge, the girls, Abby and Libby. He mentioned doing something with his gun and he thought, quote, the bullet fell out. He told the girls down the hill and crossed the creek. He wanted to sexually assault them, but didn't because he saw a van. He cut their necks, covered their bodies in branches, stayed off the trails to exit to avoid being seen. details. This isn't just, oh, I did it. These are specific details. So it raises a question because you want to know, is this a false confession or a true confession? And the devil may be in the
Confessions are tough. Confessions are tough for defenses. I don't even care, like unless it's like a real bizarre confessions, but confessions usually don't go well for defense teams, but we'll see. Um, I think in this case here, witness testimony is going to be a little bit more impactful on the jury than anything else, but that's just me. That's just my opinion.
details here. And that brings me to my first question. How did Richard Allen know all these details? Are they details that only the killer would know? If so, that's a pretty good test of a confession being trustworthy. If there's information in the confession that no one else knows about.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to find him guilty. I think it's going to be hung jury. They might find him guilty afterwards, but there's most of the questions that they're asking is telling me that there's going to be a hung jury here for sure. I doubt very high. I'm at like 70-80%. This is going to be probably like 10-2. I think it might even go like 9-3. Hey, FarQ, how are you?
Other than the killer and maybe investigators. Joining us to discuss this, Court TV senior producer Barbara McDonald and criminal defense attorney and host of the Defense Diaries podcast, Bob Mata, both of them in Indiana, both of them inside the courtroom covering all of this. Great to see you both. Barbara, these are details, okay? You've been covering this story a long time. What are your thoughts about the details that were revealed in this alleged confession heard by this psychologist?
Well, the one detail that was included in that confession that the state argues is something that only the killer would know is this information about this van that Richard Allen said in this confession, this one confession, that he saw a van and that's what spooked him. He decided to abandon his plan.
I'll tell you, it's better than having Gray Hughes on there. If it was Gray Hughes, I wouldn't be watching this.
Plan to sexually assault these girls and instead marched them across the creek where he killed them, covered them with branches, and then fled the area. For a while, we have been.
Are they saying the girls were unalived at like 2:30? Is that what they're saying?
Hearing, I've heard from law enforcement sources, it's been out on social media that Brad Weber, who lived at the south end of the bridge, was coming home from work. I had always heard it as 3:30 p.m. and that he was driving on his private drive. And that was a law enforcement theory, is that Brad Weber returning home from work spooked whoever was out there doing whatever it was they were doing to the girls at that time. Now we're hearing that that happened at 2:30. The witness who testified today said that he knows that Brad Weber clocked out of work in Lafayette, which is about 25 or 30 minutes away, at 2:02 p.m. And according to Waze and Google Maps, he should have been getting home at.
Just my opinion. I have 100% that those girls did not die at 2:30. There's no way possible. It's just not happening. In my opinion, the girls probably timeline more like 3:00, 1:15 maybe.
2:27 to 2:30, and that's their theory, is that that is information only the killer would know, and that that's what spooked Richard Allen into committing the murders.
And just for
Yeah, I've heard about the vehicle before. I mean, the only thing, like I said, that's actually new to me in this case is the trail cam, and I had heard that before, but I heard it once or twice, and then I didn't hear about it afterwards until now. But the vehicle, I mean, that was a rumor for a while.
clarification purposes, this road, it's a private road, so it's almost like an extension of your driveway if you have this massive property.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the medical expert didn't know what he couldn't. The medical expert couldn't tell what was the weapon of choice. Yeah, that's what I thought. I think they crossed the creek at like 2:30, because it's a pretty good distance from the bridge, that side of the bridge to the creek. Yeah, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe she was killed that early. I just don't. I think, in fact, I think Abby was probably killed second, and she probably ran, and then she was brought back. I don't think she saw Libby get unalived, and she bolted, and that's just my opinion. But to get from the end of the bridge to across the creek and to where they were found unalived, I think that takes more than 15 minutes. I'll have to look that up because I don't think the medical expert ever said what he thought it was. It might have been, but he didn't say it was. That's why I want to see. That's why it's good to see the trial. We'll get the transcripts hopefully at some point because you just can't count on. I'm getting conflicting different reports, but I don't think the medical examiner, the medical expert said it was a box cutter. I thought the medical expert said it was undetermined.
Yes.
So there's no general traffic going there. Only someone who would live there would be driving down that road, and you wouldn't necessarily expect someone.
And I don't think the medical expert said that it was time of death.
To be driving there.
Right. Now, at the time, the road was not blocked off, so people could get onto that road.
Okay.
Ever since the crime happened, it is something they've put up no trespassing signs and even a chain across the driveway at times to keep people out.
All right, Bob, I want to put this up. This is Brian Harshman, Indiana State Police, testifying. Prior to reading Richard Allen's alleged confession in Dr. Waller's report, Harshman had never heard anything about a van. The only person that would have seen a van there would have been Libby, Abby, and the person that killed them. Harshman looked up the owners of the property and found that Brad Weber owned a 2000 Ford Ecoline van. According to Apple Health data, Libby's phone stopped moving at 2:32 and 39 seconds p.m. Interviewed Brad Webster and found his van would have been on the road between 2:27 and 2:30 on February 13th, 2017. That seems to line up with a timeline. What are your thoughts about this van, this fact, and the trustworthiness of this confession?
Well, that's a lot of questions, and it's interesting, and I'm going to have you hearken.
Yeah, I think he said possible, but I don't think he couldn't rule out. Hey, Luis Cuevas, how are you? Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean the phone. She stopped. The phone stopped. That doesn't mean she did. Yeah, he couldn't rule out the other types. That's what I thought. Could have been a box cutter. Could have been something else. Because from the Ron Logan affidavit, it said a sharp edge weapon or something like that. It didn't say box cutter in there. That's for sure. There wasn't enough characters in there to put box cutter in there. Is it a plastic one or is it a metal one? No, he didn't. He said he couldn't. The medical examiner, as far as I know, he couldn't say where those marks came from. Yes. Yeah. I mean, just because, well, we can't just pick and choose what the FBI is wrong about. I mean, if we want to say the FBI was wrong about some stuff, then we have, I mean, they definitely did. Hey, Tech Beth, what's up? Tech Death, what's up? He said it could be a possibility. That's what I thought. That's why I can't wait to get, because we're getting conflicting reports here from different. There was a lot of people in the courtroom, though. So we'll wait for the transcripts because
back to opening statements, and the defense said that I want you to be aware that in the middle of this trial, that the state is going to have to change their theory. And that is exactly what they did today. They have changed their theory. They've changed their timeline. They now have the time of death that they're approximating is at 2:32 p.m.
and that's contrary to the medical examiner. The medical examiner didn't have a time of death. So the state is saying there's a time of death when even the medical examiner said there isn't. They can't pin it down.
Because what they did is they lined it up with this whole concept that, look, Libby's phone stopped moving at 2:32. We know that from her Apple Health data, and it never moved again. And now we have this van that drives onto the private drive that now we have a statement from who we think is the killer that says that he sees a van, and it's at that point that he kills the girls. They're now locked into it. So they've changed it. So Sarah Carbaugh, for instance.
I get that,
now.
but this, I mean, who else would know about the van? Who else would know about the white van?
Well, I mean, if you follow this case on social media, and everybody in that town, everyone was talking about vans. Like everybody was talking about vans. Everybody knew that Brad Weber was a suspect early on. I mean, Brad Weber had a Sig Sauer. Now the defense is being shut down from bringing that in because of the motion in limine. But everybody that follows this case and has followed this case the whole time knows that Brad Weber was one of the initial suspects, and they took his Sig Sauer and they tested it, and it couldn't be excluded.
Is Harshman?
So they're saying that he unalived the girls before they crossed the creek? Because I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how he gets the girls across the creek. If he sees the van and then he unalives the girls, how does he get the girls across the creek? So they got from the bridgehead, from the end of the bridge to across the creek in 15 minutes. And how does he see the van from across the creek? That doesn't make any sense.
The Harshman, the from the Indiana State Police, who said he never heard of this before, is he just oblivious to facts that everyone else knows about?
I think Bob may be onto something here. I think the state is trying to change up their timeline a little bit. Hello, Matahari. How are you? I just don't think that timeline adds up. They get to the bottom of the hill, and then it just doesn't. The 15 minutes is a little bit. And how does he see the van from the other side of the creek?
I mean, is that kind of where you are on this?
I mean,
Well,
where I'm
you know-
at is we're 7 years in. Oh, sorry, Barb, go.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say that he didn't start investigating it until Richard Allen was in custody. He was not one of the original investigators on the case, and he was tasked with listening to his prison phone calls and monitoring his prison communications. And that after he heard that detail, then he went back and looked at the file and started going through reports and ultimately ended up talking
Who's got their facts wrong?
to Brad Weber. But also, Richard Allen had his discovery. He had received hundreds of pages from his defense team prior to these confessions happening. And so there are.
Where are all the girls at 232? Where are the girls at 232? That's what I want to know. If the girls at 232 are across the creek, then how did they see the van? Hey, Vin and Carice, how are you? Good to see you.
Are other ways that he could have had this information other than being the killer.
All right. Well, I would say the onus now is on the defense to demonstrate that. Let me ask you one more quick question, Bob. A lot of people might be saying and be questioning why a psychologist's conversations with someone would be coming in this case. We saw it in the Menendez trial years ago. Why, in this case, is a psychologist testifying about conversations that are usually privileged?
Yeah, in this particular situation, she had testified earlier back in July, late July, the first time that they had hearings regarding these issues. And her explanation was that there's a carve out for her, that if somebody that she's treating who is an inmate gives a inculpatory statement, that she's allowed to make those disclosures. That was her explanation for it. Whether or not that violates.
Hey, Necessary Evil, how are you? Good to see you. So that's what I want to know. Where were the girls at 232? Were they? Are you assuming they were across the creek? Then how did you see the van? That's my question. Plus, I think it takes probably a little bit longer than that to get from. Well, we know Ellie made mistakes, but that's law enforcement makes mistakes all the time in a lot of cases, but that's not the question here. The question is the timeline, because it's not making a lot of sense to me.
It's a Hippocratic oath up and down is an entirely different thing. But I mean, they've been allowing them in. I know initially that they had tried. That was part and parcel of one of the arguments. The defense was saying that, look, she's a state agent, that what she was doing was the equivalent to her questioning him.
Right.
And then so it was very interesting when she testified with respect to the cross-examination, because it came out that she had been researching this case, that she had been following this case very heavily. She had followed many podcasts that were covering it. She was on Reddit, so she was deep into this case. She accessed
everything in this case is just a little different. Everything is different, Bob.
She also, Vinny,
We're out of
she
time
also
for now. But just to hold that thought, because I don't want to miss the next subject. Because coming up next, who is Richard Allen?
All right.
Richard Allen, you child murderer! Why did you do it? Shame on you! Shame on you, Richard! You're going to prison for the rest of your life! Shame on you, Richard Allen!
Celebrity trials are like 1,200 people.
That's where Ricky Allen lived, over there in that yellow house early on.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably do it if you're running, if you're in good shape, but you're talking about, this guy here with two kids, and I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it that that's the timeline of the unaliving. No. I think it's got to be more like 3 o'clock or quarter past.
I think when he first got married, they moved in there, if I remember right. Very, very nice, very respectable young man. I mean, always has been. Yeah, my name is David Yoder, and I knew Ricky his entire life. He is a very loyal dog. He's a quiet he's very polite, always has been respectful to me. He'll go out of his way to say hi, just to say hello to me. Very friendly.
And I don't know if I trust Brad Weber at all. He's had an issue out there with people on his property before. No, I have my own ideas about this, and I actually think that he's guilty. But I'm not on the jury, so I'm not gonna. Yeah, that was JLR.
Sociable. I really can't speak highly enough about the man. I just can't believe that he did this. I don't believe it for a minute.
People who have talked to who shopped at the CVS and dealt with Richard Allen described him as friendly. In fact, after the murders, Libby's aunt went in there to have some pictures printed for Libby's memorial. She said Richard Allen helped her, and at the time, she thought he was helpful and kind.
Interesting look at the man who's accused of this horrific murder. I mean, this is as bad as it gets, right? You randomly attack two innocent girls. You want to sexually assault them, then you slit their throats.
There's also too many people changing their statements in this case. Yeah, that was definitely JLR, for sure.
In a small town in Indiana? Doesn't get much worse than that. Take a look. We have here's sort of a thumbnail sketch of Richard Allen, or Ricky, as I guess his friend calls him. Currently 52 years old, 44 when the murders occurred. Charged with 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of felony murder. He's a Delphi resident, trained pharmacy technician, worked at the Delphi CVS. My guess is everyone in town at some point probably came across him, right? I mean, you got to go pick up a prescription or whatever. Married to Kathy Allen and has 1 adult daughter. Married for a long time, has an adult daughter. All that stuff, pretty normal. Which brings me to my next question in our investigation. And it's about the defendant himself. Who is Richard Allen? Who's this guy? Still with us, Barbara McDonald and Bob Mata. Okay, this is an open-ended question.
Hey, Miracle Hearts, how are you? Good to see you. I mean, we kind of have to go by who's in the court and who's listening in the court. But, I mean, if you're getting 2 different statements from the court, that's when you got to kind of... I hope everybody's having a good week. Yeah, this should have been... At least they should have had a pool reporter in there. I think this is... And I think there's a reason why this wasn't televised. I think there's a reason why people are counting on um, notes and stuff like that. But some people take good notes, some people don't. And I'm assuming there's a lot of people that hear certain things, a lot of people don't hear certain things.
Barbara, I'll let you go first. Who is Richard Allen?
So he seems to have lived a fairly normal life in this area prior to his arrest. No known criminal history.
See, that's not unusual. I don't know why they keep trying to do that. I mean, people do stuff like this all the time. The thing is that people don't. I mean, the world isn't full of serial killers, right? Everybody's not a serial killer, but when they start bringing that up, is how can this person just go out and do this? I mean, people do this stuff all the time. It's not, unfortunately, it's done all the time. So it's one of those things where if they're saying, well, how can he do this? I mean, it's possible. But, the evidence is the evidence. And
there has been a lot of testimony about his mental health struggles with depression and anxiety. He's been suicidal, he said, for most of the time since about 2015. He was even
these guys are rock climbing here, so he's pretty healthy.
hospitalized, according to the defense, at one point in 2019 because of his mental health. Previously, when he was being held in solitary confinement in those maximum security prisons, he definitely looked out of it when he came to court appearances. He looks a lot healthier today. He's very engaged with his defense. He looks back at his wife a lot. He winked at her the other day as one of the interrogation videos played that showed them embracing. And he takes a lot of notes.
Bob Mata.
See, right here, this statement right here, 213 BJ kidnaps the girls and forces them down the hill. To get down the hill, that's got to take at least 5 to 6 minutes. In my opinion, I don't think that they were unalived way after that. It had to be about 3 o'clock or maybe even later than that.
Who is this guy? If someone came up and said, who is Richard Allen? I mean, how would you describe him?
I'd call him like a Midwestern guy, just a guy who goes to work every day, who's married, raised a kid, seems to be a nice person. I mean, if you're extracting him out of this situation and you're looking at him from, an objective point of view prior to this, I'd say he's kind of an everyman in terms of your typical Midwestern guy. In terms of his relationship with his wife, they love each other. They've loved each other for a long, long time. And the one thing that you gather as you hear the evidence come in, especially interactions between Richard and his wife, Kathy, is that they're still very much in love. They're a very loving couple, and this has been a relationship that spanned decades. And, there was one moment in court recently where one of his attorneys, Andrew Baldwin, I think had either had some water or some spit go down the wrong tube, and he was coughing. Now, this is after the court had concluded for the day, and Allen was standing right next to him. And like Andy was really having a hard time, like kind of getting the cough, and Richard patted him on the back like 3 times, and it was such a human moment and such a bizarre circumstance. It really kind of showed the humanity that.
Wasn't it Brad Weber that actually threatened people on his property before? Isn't he the guy that got upset with a couple of people that were on his property, and didn't he threaten to kidnap them or something like that? Well, Vinny does have other perspectives on this. Is just this episode, but he's had Gray Hughes is a big proponent of RA being guilty, but if you go back 2 years, Gray Hughes also thought Tony Klein was the unalive her. So
that I think that Richard Allen probably has had throughout the course of his life. I think most people that knew him always said he was a nice, quiet guy, you know, and like that kind of one little act.
did they get the FBI guy to testify, or are they not going to let that in? Because I thought in Brad Weber's original statement that he didn't go straight home. Yeah, his time card could say that he clocked out anytime, but that doesn't mean he went straight home, because he originally said that he went to an ATM, or he went to work on ATMs, so he didn't go straight home. And I think the prosecution wanted to keep that out.
You know, I think he's like, it's been said that he's selfless. So we've got a strange dichotomy here. I mean, if he is in fact the person who did this, then it seems to belie everything that he's been coming into this. So, you know, but I guess the real question is, can you really know anybody?
Is that him now?
Right. Yeah, but there are some defendants that come into court and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah, defendants aren't going to just stand up and say, I did it, you know. I don't think, honestly, I don't think the prosecution knows the timeline, because they've been all over the place. It's Heather. Hey, Heather Brown, how are you? Good to see you. See, I watched most of the other people that were in the court, and there's a question of whether or not because he had some sort of a side business of doing ATM machines, and that's what his original statement was. Miss you too, kiddo. Good to see you. Hey, Mustang, how are you? I think I already said hi.
We've seen that. We've covered that trial more than once here on Court TV. I want to show the clip that you referenced, Barbara, in the piece that we showed before. Libby's grandmother, Becky Patty, talking about Richard Allen.
There's a report going around right now that this Mr. Allen actually processed the photos for the family at the CVS. Do you know if that's accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay, and is he charged with that when he was taking the photos?
That is correct.
And that's one of the things about this story, Barbara. We always say it's a small town. It's a small town. If you're getting your photos processed, you go to the CVS. You're going to know Richard Allen. Like, people know each other and will recognize each other. And we thought all through the years, we were talking about, could the killer be among the folks in Delphi, or was it an outsider? And prosecutors obviously saying it's a man who was living.
So I think the fact that it's just my opinion. Okay, these are just my opinions. But I think the fact that the prosecution is really trying hard to keep some of this stuff out of the court is a problem, right? They kept the sketches out. Sketches couldn't be. They kept the geofencing out. I don't even think they've tied Richard Allen's phone to the area, and I think that's hurt the prosecution, because keeping some of this stuff out might have actually hurt them. Exactly. Brian Weber's phone, Richard Allen's phone, but they kept the geofencing out, so there's no way to tell. There's no way, it's that would be very important information. And then I've heard the former law enforcement people say that you can't trust pings out there. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, because we know that Ron Logan's phone was at the crime scene between 8 and 10 p.m. I mean, but I've heard people say that you can't trust cell phone pings out there. So I don't know what to tell you. But it would have been helpful if they would have done a data dump. And that would have been allowed in court, because we would have known where the hell is RA's phone? Where the hell is Brad Weber's phone? But that's They pick and choose what they want to allow in, I think. But not allowing the geofencing in is, I mean, how do you know? You don't.
Amongst you.
Absolutely. And, he continued to go to work for 5 years after these murders at that CVS right in the middle of town. Didn't hide, didn't move. Law enforcement shopped in there. The families of the victims shopped in there. And nobody ever called law enforcement and said, I think it's the guy at CVS. The only tip that they ever received.
That's another problem I have with this whole thing is I just can't believe for 5 years, 5.5 years, nobody IDs him working at CVS. It's just weird. It's just so weird. Um, they have the transcript. They have the transcript of what he said. They just can't allow it in because it's the FBI and they need to go through certain channels because it's the FBI. I just, it'd be nice to see the phone data.
Was from him himself.
And the trail cam. I mean, the trail cam could be very, very important for either side.
Saying I was out at the bridge that day.
Right. And there was the video and there was a sketch and there's a picture of Richard Allen with the sketch behind him. And here it is, folks. There's Richard Allen. And then over his right shoulder is a sketch of the suspect in the most notorious case ever to come out of this area.
This whole investigation, in my opinion, has just been botched. Well, how do you know he got rid of it? I've had phones every year, and I can't find some of my phones. I mean, phones get lost, phones get broken. It doesn't necessarily mean he got rid of it. And if they would have tracked his phone out there, yes, I do agree with this. Killers act normal. It's absolutely right. Yeah, I don't know. Who changed his whole appearance? It's hard for me to believe that somebody can change their height. Like 5'4" is really short. 5'4" is almost midget size. So, none of the witnesses and they have a lot of witnesses out there. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 witnesses, and all of the witnesses say he was about 5'7" or taller. So 5'4" is short. You would definitely remember that. That would be, in my opinion, that would be one of those things that you remember. It's almost like he's child size.
And it's just like another day. Found this on a Facebook page.
It's Gail.
Bob, we only have literally like 10 seconds here, but what are your thoughts about how all of that could influence this?
Hey, Gail, how are you? Good to see you.
That there isn't a past.
Sometimes people that do horrible things have no criminal history, so I don't think it ultimately is going to really play into how this thing shakes out.
All right. Barbara McDonald, Bob Motta. Wow. What a story. I'm Vinny Politan. We'll keep digging for.
According to the whatever Dan Doolin wrote down, that he offered to give him the phone then. So I don't know why they didn't take it then. So he had it.
For answers as the investigation continues.
Let's go to another one here. And then we'll get off the Delphi thing here. Let me go to, this was day 14, which is oops, I'll do this one here. All right, so this is coming from WTHR. This is 7 hours ago. So let's play this here.
Today, jurors in the Delphi murders trial got to see video taking them inside one of the toughest prisons in the state. We're talking about the prison where the man accused of killing Abby Williams and Libby German was once housed. Our senior investigative reporter Bob Siegel was once again in the Carroll County courtroom for today's testimony. Tonight, he explains how the defense team hopes the video will sway the
Also, every single witness out there said he was 20s or 30s. I mean, you can't change your facial expressions that much. You just can't. Hair. Most of the witnesses said he had hair, curly hair. Well, he's not just 5'4". He's not a big guy either. So, and I'm not saying that doesn't make it not him. I'm just saying that's something that I would definitely have picked out. One of the girls actually said she came up to her shoulders. So, then she's really short. She's a good 6 or 7 inches shorter than him.
The jury.
The 15 videos the jury saw in court today are to help them understand the harsh conditions Richard Allen was subjected to at the Westville Correctional Facility. The defense contends that those conditions prompted Richard Allen to have a series of mental breakdowns, which then led to him making false confessions. The videos were compiled by Max Baker, who was the defense's first witness on Saturday morning. He was able to confirm for the jury that all the videos were taken by
Confessions are tough for a jury, though, because it's an easy way to get out of it. It's like juries, they get these people on the jury are going through hell, literally. I mean, being in a box, you can't talk to anybody. You can't, I mean, it's just 4 weeks. It's going to go 4 weeks probably. So, instead of, I've heard some people are taking notes, some people aren't. So confessions are an easy way for the jury to say, all right, let's get the hell out of here. All right, he made confessions, he's guilty, let's go. So that's why that was not the phone he had on the trails. How do you know that? He had a phone. I mean, from what I understand, he offered to give it to Dan Doolin. So I don't know what phone that was, how many phones he had at the time. Like I say, it would be nice if they had some phone data from where his phone was located at the time. Because I know they have Ron Logan's phone pinging out there from, I believe, 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, right at the crime scene or right around the crime scene.
During a 3-month time frame when Allen was confessing to killing Abby and Libby. It's important to point out, only the jurors got to see these videos, not those of us sitting in the gallery, because some of the videos show Allen naked as he's being transported around the prison. A large video screen in the courtroom was angled and moved very close to jurors to prevent others from viewing the videos. But a few of us journalists in the front row were still able to see some of them. In one, Allen was transported into a building as he was restrained in a chair with straps around his chest and waist and thighs. 2 people stood over him as he appeared to receive some type of medical treatment, and then he was wheeled to a van, still restrained, and returned to his cell. In another video, Allen appeared to be lying down and needed assistance from corrections officers to get up. And in a third, Allen was being showered by officers who were scrubbing his head and back and shoulders while Allen's hands were cuffed behind his back. The jury was told they'll likely see more.
Telling you, law enforcement and Department of Corrections go through extreme measures to get confessions from people. This is not the first time somebody has been put through this. They did the same thing to Ron Logan. They will get, if they don't have a good case, they will do whatever they have to do to get a confession out of somebody. They'll actually, they'll send, informants in there to, I forget the case where they did that with that alleged serial guy. They put somebody in there to get confessions from him. It's what they do. They do this stuff all the time. Especially if people don't, if they don't have a good case, confessions are like gold.
Videos next week that will show Allen's strange behavior in his cell. Again, an effort to counteract the confessions that the jury heard because the defense claims Allen was suffering from mental illness at the time he made all those incriminating statements. Today's testimony really upset some people in the courtroom, including the victims' families. They were angry that the reason that the videos today were not shown to everyone in the courtroom was out of a sense of offering privacy and honoring the dignity of Richard Allen. They say Abby and Libby were not offered that same respect, and they point out that pictures of the girls' bodies, including Libby German lying dead naked in the woods, those pictures were shown to everyone in the courtroom over the last couple of.
The perfect example is the sketch, the younger guy sketch. I mean, Betsy Blair doubled down on that. That's why they had the 2019 press conference, because she went to them and said, the photo you're showing is not the guy that I saw. And in my opinion, the younger guy sketch looks nothing like Richard Allen. It's night and day.
Of weeks. Tomorrow is a day off for the jury, and then Monday we're expecting a heated day of testing.
Even the people at that press conference that they interviewed afterwards were shocked. They were beside themselves that they had to tear all the other posters down and put up the new one. I mean, that doesn't look anything like Richard Allen. The first sketch looks more like Richard Allen than the other guy. And I think, the one witness that said he was dressed in all black with black boots, she could have seen, that could have been Ron Logan.
Testimony here in Delphi. In Delphi, I'm Bob Siegel, 13 News.
Also on Monday, Bob and Emily Longnecker will join our legal expert for the Delphi debrief. They break down all the developments in the courtroom every weeknight on the trial.
All right, so let's finish this up here.
At 10 on WTHR Plus. You can find the app on Apple TV, Roku, and Fire Stick.
The prison videos are.
Well, some of the questions that the jury's been asking is, in my opinion, not. Somebody up on the jury is really good at DNA. Like it sounds like that. Maybe law enforcement, maybe.
From April, May, and June of 2023, 6 months after Allen was arrested for the killings of Abby Williams and Libby German near the Monon High Bridge in 2017. And those videos coincide, say the defense, with their client's mental health breakdown behind bars. The state claims Richard Allen.
I mean, you have no idea what happens in prisons, and what happens in prisons stay in prisons. It's not like anybody's going to get in trouble for doing what they do. This is how they catch the bad guy. This is what they do. They get you in there, and it's very similar to prisoner of war treatment. It's they will do whatever they have to do to get a confession out of you, especially if they don't have a good case.
Needed to be housed in solitary confinement for his own safety at the Westville Correctional Facility pending trial. Allen is accused of killing Abby Williams and Libby German on February 13th, 2017, after abducting them off the Monon High Bridge, being interrupted in his plans to sexually assault the girls, then forcing them across Deer Creek and slashing their throats where the best friends' bodies were discovered the next day. After some legal wrangling back and forth, Allen's attorney succeeded in introducing video of.
Isn't that great? We just gained our hour of sleep back. Oh, I don't know why Hilton, yeah. They learn these tactics over time. I mean, there's so many cases that you follow where they keep these people in these interview rooms for like hours and 17 hours. Finally, the person just says, "Yeah, I did it. Okay, let me go home." I've seen so many cases where confessions have been turned out to be not true, and they've had to exonerate these people, and they end up going and suing. And they deserve to get sued. In my opinion, they get the wrong person in there. Doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen.
Allen being moved in custody inside the prison.
I mean, this guy's a small guy. It's a tiny guy. This case is so fucked up.
Prison. There are times he is wearing a spit hood over his head. He is naked and being dragged by guards while shackled and being scrubbed clean. Jurors have heard testimony that Allen was neglecting to take care of himself, smeared himself with feces, and had been stunned with an electric shock device to force compliance. Throughout the playing of the videos, the jurors remained attentive, simultaneously writing notes about what they were seeing on the screen. Out of respect for Allen's dignity, his attorneys are perhaps seeking to seal those videos from evidence. Therefore, they were shown only to the jurors and not to the gallery, where reporters.
Some of the questions they're asking, especially when it came to the DNA, are somebody knows something about DNA, that's for sure. No, they've gotten people. I mean, most of them probably. I would say a good 80% of them are early on, but I've seen cases where, especially for some of these guys that do multiple unalivings and they want to try to find out pin one of the other ones on them. After years and years and years, they'll send an informant in or somebody that's in there to try to get some information from the guy.
Reporters had a limited view of the video screen. In Delphi, Russ McQuaid.
But I'll be the first person to tell you that confessions are not good for a defense. They're just not. They're just it's almost as good as DNA.
CBS 4 News.
Russ, thank you. State Police Superintendent Doug Carter took the stand today as well for a short time. Carter was asked by Allen's defense attorney about the decision to kick the FBI off the case. This was back in August of 2021 that Carter said he made the decision to relieve the agency of its involvement in the investigation and made them return all the material.
That's what I said. The van is not new. The vehicle is not new. That's been out there just like the non-secular items left at the crime scene. We've known about those. I mean, we didn't know what they were, but we've known there were non-secular items. There were 3 signatures left at the crime scene. We've known that forever and ever and ever. And all of a sudden people are like, wow, that's so much news to me. The DNA thing, we know everybody's known there's no DNA there. If they would have had DNA, they would have tied it back to a criminal easy. I mean, it's they should have moved him. They should have moved him when they were told about it.
Materials they had gathered. The prosecution did not cross-examine Carter, and he was off the stand in less than 10 minutes. It still remains unclear tonight why Carter made that decision. Fox 59 is committed to being your source for every.
So let's get out of this here. There's certain things that I just don't, and I still think he did it, but I just myself personally, I don't think that they were unalived that early. Okay, so we're going to go to, I want to get into, hold on a second here. I mean, obviously, I think some of the confessions I think were just from him being housed in Solitary confinement will drive you crazy. That's I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. It's awful. All right, so I do want to go to this. This is fun. This is going to be a Waffle House thing here. So let's go to this here. So this happened. I think this happened this week too. This was 13 hours ago. So a customer was unalived and shooting in a Florida Waffle House. So let's do this. Don't drink the coffee.
Some breaking news that we are following coming in out of the Tampa, Florida area. Take a look at this video provided by our Fox 13 Tampa team. That's where a 60-year-old customer was.
They didn't know about the van until August of 2024. Yeah, that's again, this investigation has just been it's so bad. It's just so awful. Like these poor families, cheese and crow. And you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. You really do. You really try to, because it's not easy. These investigations are tough. It's not easy. Like I said, it's not like people stand up and say, "Hey, I did it." But some of this stuff, I mean, one, why send this guy Dan Doolin out there to interview people? They had so many other people there to do a proper interrogation, right from the get-go. They would have had this guy nailed. Like these things are just you can't. It's Delphi. You can't make this shit up.
Shot and killed early this morning at a Waffle House. Now it's over in Riverview, which is a town just outside of Tampa in Hillsborough County, if you are familiar with that area. Now the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office telling Live Now from Fox that deputies responded to gunfire around 3 this morning.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be livid, Dean. I'd be like, you got to be kidding me. And I know they want answers. I get that. So, they want to get to some sort of a closure on this or something for the families. But I would be bullshit with this whole, and I think it has a lot to do with egos. I really do. And I just found out yesterday that that was Toll Pleasantby's first murder investigation. That's just
morning local time. And when deputies got there, they say
they literally treated the crime scene like an arcade, like buy a ticket, come on in, let's see the crime scene, let's see the dead kids, It's like, of course they didn't have any DNA out there. It's so contaminated. The crime scene was so contaminated. My God.
They found a 60-year-old man dead with a gunshot wound on his upper body, though they did not specify anything further about that wound. Now, the shooter has not been identified, located, or arrested at this point, so the sheriff's office is urging anyone with information to give them a call. Now, the sheriff's office also tells us that it appears the shooter and the victim, who was a customer at the restaurant, got into an...
how do you screw up the Orion system? It's one of the most sophisticated systems in the world. Everybody uses it like it's my God. And yeah, people can chalk it up to just like a mistake. Well, what other mistakes did they make? That whole initial searching was just, there's 2 missing kids, right?
Argument, but it's not clear yet if they knew each other. Again, fairly limited information.
Well, it's going to get cold tonight, so let's all go home. Fuck that.
here, as there is still a lot left to figure out. You can see this video again coming in from our Fox 13 Tampa team. Now, on the scene there, they spoke one-on-one with the sheriff's office, and I do want to play that brief conversation right now.
So early this morning, an act of violence ended up with the life of one individual. So I'm going to walk you through the events right now, even though we are at the very early stage of the investigation. So just after 3 a.m., ATSO Communication Center received several calls reporting a shooting inside of the Waffle House. When deputies arrived, they found one deceased male with one gunshot wound to his upper body. Through investigating means, detectives learned that the suspect and the victim got into a verbal argument, and that's when the suspect shot at the victim.
This is the thing at the Waffle House. You go there, you're especially after a certain hour, you probably get your life is probably being threatened. This is a mock trial, anyways. This will be done over again. That's unfortunate, but the thing is, nobody's going to get any answers out of this. It's sad. It's very sad. These poor kids. It's just, it's all about them, and it's turned into be this just crazy. Just want to eat a waffle. That's too funny. Yes. She's pregnant too now?
The suspect fled the scene, and right now our detectives are working trying to identify the suspect. And also we're asking the public that if you believe you have any information that might help us, please reach out to 813-247-8200.
Do you have any suspect description?
At this moment, we don't have it. We are trying to gather not only interviewing witnesses with that information, but we're also trying to gather security video from the cameras. There are also a lot of witnesses right now, but at this moment, we do not have identification.
Do you have male or female on the suspect? You said
it was a male.
Okay, so both are males.
Yes.
Okay, and as far as relationship between the two, do they know each other? Do you know?
At this moment, we do not know. What we know is that they were in.
I mean, I do have some slides I could probably bring up, but unfortunately tonight, it's Vid Inquiries is in here. Hey, Vid, did I see you in here before? Vid Inquiries has got a great channel. Marv's got a great channel. Who else is in here that's got channels? If you have channels and you want to throw them in here, go right ahead. Vid Inquiries did a great job with the Halloween thing. She does great work. Southern Gal's got perhaps the best channel on the planet. Southern Gal's really good. Oh, thank you. I keep forgetting. It was an hour ago, exactly 2 hours ago. But if you have channels, post them in here. That's why everybody's got wrenches. Halloween is fun. Halloween's a decent holiday. I'm just too old for it. But my kids enjoy it, so that's all that matters. All right, so let's continue this. The Waffle Houses in Florida are not the same as the Waffle Houses in the Carolinas.
Inside, they were eating in different tables. They were actually customers that were eating here in the Waffle House, and that's when a verbal altercation happened that ended up with this suspect shooting at the victim.
Just one shot to the upper body?
At this moment, that's the information that we have, but we have to wait through the investigation to see if there were more shots.
And you said there were several witnesses. I mean, I'm sure employees, but how crowded are we talking? I know a lot of people go there maybe late night after going out or something like that, Halloween weekend part 2. How crowded was this restaurant?
I do not have a number of the specific, like how many people, but they were several people, not only employees that were there just working, that it's very unfair that they have to witness.
Yes. Me too.
Says this, they were just working in here and they were just involved in this terrible situation, but they were also customers.
And just speak to, you know, how lucky it is that no one else, that being said, was injured.
Yes, there's never an excuse to turn a verbal altercation in something like this. We're talking about that one man just lost his life because of a verbal altercation and because a suspect decided to shoot at him and, most importantly, fled the scene. There's never an
Yeah, when people down here hear gunshots, they just run.
excuse to allow a verbal altercation to become aggressive like this way. And we are very lucky that we have Sheriff Chronister leadership. Our detective, our deputies receive the best training, and I would say that they are very good at what they do. So we're very sure that we're gonna identify the suspect.
Just last few questions for you. Did you have an age or age range yet on the victim?
I have a feeling the defense in the Delphi case has something up their sleeve. That's just my opinion. Hey, Barbara Hall, good to see you. Barbara Hall's in here. Barbara Hall's an awesome person. It's always good to see Barbara Hall in here. Good to see all you guys in here, though. Appreciate you guys coming in.
Not at this moment. We're waiting also to notify next of kin.
Okay. And then I think that's all I had, unless you had anything else overall that you wanted to add.
No, that's it.
Okay. And then I'm assuming.
The Waffle House is the best place to go for really bad food, entertainment, plenty of entertainment, bad coffee, but sometimes bad coffee is good coffee. I hear shooting. I think I have to help the neighbor with a deer. Yeah, and you and probably 75% of the people out there. But I just don't think I mean, I could pull 12 people right now, and I guarantee you that 2 of them will say it's just not enough evidence.
I mean, well, it would have to wait probably the process, but facing potential murder charges, the suspect?
It depends on the investigation, and also whenever this suspect is identified, he has to go through a process of different interviews.
So we know nothing. They don't know anything about this, but I just wanted to bring this up since we talked so much about the Waffle House between Steve's chat and this chat here. All right, so let's go to this case here because this is bizarre, right? They've basically ruled any involvement here with this case. This is the going back to the Mica Miller case here. So if you guys don't know about this case, she federal authorities were at her home of a Myrtle Beach pastor linked to an investigation that gained national attention. So I think it was last spring? She unalived herself apparently, and this guy here had groomed her and married her and all of this stuff. So everybody was pretty sure that this guy here, this pastor here, was responsible, but then they ruled out any intent. But now they're back at this guy's. The FBI's back at this guy's home with a search warrant. So let's take a look.
With breaking news. Tonight, a Myrtle Beach church official under a federal spotlight. This is WMBF News at 6. I'm Eric Weisfeld, and this is a story that we first brought you online earlier this afternoon. One we're continuing to follow for you live now with boots on the ground, actually in 2 different locations. I want to kick things off tonight with our Ali Espinosa along Coldwater Circle here in Myrtle Beach. So, Ali, tell us more about what's going on at this hour.
Yeah, that's the good news about this case. I think the defense is probably going to rest this week, right? So the jury may have the case Thursday or Friday, right? Does that sound right? No, I don't think an acquittal is very unlikely. But I do think it's going to be a hung jury, so we're probably going to be doing this all over again. That's in my opinion. Let me know if people know about this Mica Miller case, because I'll go into it a little bit more.
You've been there all day.
Eric, that's right. I've been here since about 1:15 in the afternoon today. But as you can see here behind me, FBI agents cleared out from John Paul Miller's house.
I wonder what they could be looking for.
And as we know, he's a pastor, or was a pastor, for Solid Rock Church down in Market Common. Now, we've spent all day asking both the Bureau and local authorities exactly why this search went down, but we're still waiting for some concrete answers as of now. I did, however, speak with some neighbors in the area, one of whom tells me one particular clue leads him to believe that Miller had not been home for the past few days. Listen to this.
He walks the dogs and then goes back inside. But, that's all he's ever done.
You haven't seen that?
No, in a couple of days. His truck is gone. His truck was there yesterday, but it's gone today.
Now, I have tried to reach out to John Paul Miller himself for comment about this search, but he has not gotten back to me. FBI agents have also told us they will not be releasing any additional information on this tonight. Live in Horry County, Ali Espinosa, WMBF News.
All right, Allie, and our live team coverage does continue tonight, just down the road at Solid Rock.
Okay, so here's the map. They're going to show this map, right? I'll come back to this in a second, but I'm very familiar with this part of the country because we're down here all the time. So let me hold on a second. Let me go back a few seconds here. I did this yesterday. That was one of my cats. All right, so here we go.
Rock Church, where the news of the search at Miller's home caused a bit of a stir earlier today. That's where our Julia Richardson joins us live. And Julia, you've been out there for a few hours yourself. So what have you seen there tonight?
Yeah, Eric, well, it's definitely been a lot quieter of a scene here out at Solid Rock Church in the Market Common area. But I have seen and spoken.
This is so strange because they basically, yeah, great with the maps. No. This is just very interesting because they basically just, I mean, they called this whole thing off, and then the FBI got involved right after, but I thought it was all over, and now they're back searching this guy's house. It's weird.
Spoken with a few people who have just come by and seen, just to see what's going on. Some of them say they live in the area. Some of them say that they have just been following this case and they've just been curious to see what's going on. Now, I've seen several people come by just to take videos and pictures of the church. Right now, there's a piece of caution tape blocking off the parking lot, but it's unclear who actually put it there. As a spokesperson,
I mean, in my opinion, this guy here is a piece of dog shit. It's just
for the Myrtle Beach Police Department told me they had nothing to do with it. It also appears no one is here at the church. I have tried the doors and they are locked. I did speak with one woman who was protesting outside of the church on behalf of Miller's late and estranged wife, who tells me she's been closely watching Miller for months.
I've been following it since the day after it happened. I watched the pastor announce Mica's passing from inside the church and followed it quickly. I was working today and actually...
Have a good night, Gail. Is Gail leaving? I hope you're going to nod off. Okay. If we don't see you again this live, have a great weekend. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
Was on a TikTok live, and it was announced that the FBI was at the pastor's house, and it just went from there.
And WMBF News will be keeping you posted both about what we're seeing here on the ground and also any other information we can gather about this FBI raid. But for now, live in Myrtle Beach, Julia Richardson, WMBF News.
Julia, thank you. And it's important to know that John Paul has been a target of major public criticism since April.
This is her. Apparently, this is the video of her when she came in to buy the weapon.
Robeson County deputies say his then wife, Mica Miller, committed suicide. You're looking at pictures.
That's her car there. That's her walking into the store there.
That show Mica buying a gun here in Myrtle Beach. That was April
That's her at the counter.
27th. Deputies claim she used that gun.
So I was right. It was last spring.
And just 2 days later to take her own life at the Lumber River State Park. The Robeson County Sheriff's Office has since worked to dispel what it called conspiracy theories about John Paul's involvement in Mica's death, pointing to, quote, clear and compelling evidence the pastor had been in Charleston April 29th.
So weird. Hold on a second. There was a question there. How much gas did she buy? I'm not sure. I can check. It's just so weird how they're out there again looking into this, because it's just weird. Here's them
5 days from now. Back here at home, a prominent Myrtle Beach church official under a federal microscope tonight. Our Julia Richardson breaks down everything we know so far and what we're still working to learn right now.
FBI agents searched a home Friday here on Coldwater Circle belonging to John.
Have a good night, Mustang. Is Mustang leaving? It was so good to see you tonight, Mustang. Have a good weekend. Enjoy it. Because I don't think, with all of the, regardless of all the opinions, I think everybody's in the right. I mean, people just want justice for the victims. That's me anyways. Who cares about all the riffraff and opinions? As long as people get a point, that's all that matters.
On Paul Miller, who is a pastor down at Solid Rock Church in the Market Common. We've spent all day.
So let me hold on a second. Let me go here. Oh, you're welcome, Paula. Paula's awesome. Paula's got a channel too, right? So Paula, if you get your channel, you can throw it in here. I'm gonna go here first. Let's go here. This is what I like to do on such a cold night. So this is the church here. And they lived over in here somewhere, I think. I can get the exact address, but they were kind of over in here, and they lived right down the street from the church here. Right, so let's go back. This is South Carolina. This is the Grand Strand here. And if you go down here, this is where we go, right here. This is like heaven to us, right down in here. There's the pier. There's our favorite place, River City Cafe. Oh, this brings back so many memories. This beach is so awesome. We usually stay right in here, right second row here. But this place here is just absolutely wonderful. Look at that. And you're right on the beach. This place is like right on the beach. Anyways, I'll stop playing around here. All right, so let's go back right here.
Asking both the Bureau and local authorities exactly why this search went down. But as of right now, we're still
Very good
waiting
album.
for some concrete answers. We did, however, speak with some neighbors in the area, one of whom tells us one particular clue leads him to believe that Miller had not been home for the past few days.
He walks the dogs, then goes back inside. But that's basic.
The guy is such a dick. He's such a horrible person. Can you believe he said that? Did you see the video of him crying? You just wanted to bash his face in. I mean, it's just so It's so fake. It's like the whole him and Stefan Stearns with the crying. It's you can tell they're faking. It's just not nobody cries like that. Nobody. Just these people aren't fooling anybody. Ugh.
Basically, that's all he ever does.
You haven't seen
And
that?
no, in a couple of days, his truck is gone. His truck was there yesterday, but it's gone today.
We saw caution tape blocking off the parking lot at Miller's church, but it's unclear who actually put it there. As a spokesperson for the Myrtle Beach Police Department confirms, officers had nothing to do with it. I did speak with one woman who was protesting outside of the church on behalf of Miller's late and estranged wife, who tells me she's been closely watching Miller for months.
I've been following it since the day after it happened.
That's so funny. It's following her for months. Yes, he's just such a horrible person. He's just uh I can't stand the guy. He's not fooling me, that's for sure.
And I watched the pastor announce Mica's passing from inside the church and followed it.
Never once did he, I mean, he didn't even mention her. Like he's always mentioned himself and pray for me. It just we don't know. No. What about you?
Quickly. I was working today and actually was on a TikTok live, and it was announced that the FBI was at the pastor's house, and it just went from there.
Miller has yet to respond to our request for comment, and we are told by the FBI that they will not be releasing any more information on the search at this time.
That's where we should all meet, is on the beach out there. That would be fantastic. I'd be buying for sure.
Reporting in Myrtle Beach, Julie Richardson, WMBF News.
All right, so I'll keep an eye on this. This is this is weird how they're back out there again. I don't know what they're looking for, but because time and time again they've basically said there's nothing. He's got nothing to do with it. So we'll see. All right, so what am I doing now? Let's stop sharing this here. Yes, it's on me for sure. They have these. They get these peanuts out with the shelled peanuts, and you can just throw the peanut shells on the floor. There, it's awesome. Yeah. All right, so what are we doing now? Pizza's on me. I hope I didn't piss anybody off tonight. Whenever you talk Delphi, man, you're gonna piss somebody off. There's nothing you can do about it. That's why I don't like to talk about it that much, because it's all right. So we'll go to this case here. I want to go to the missing person case of the week, and I had this all pulled up. So let's hope. But this is the case of at least I had it all pulled up. Hold on a second. And I'm probably going to butcher this name, but it's right. Hold on a second. Well, I can play this first, and then we'll look up the write up. So this is the story of yes. The pizza up here sucks. All right. So this is the missing case of Tafini K. Johnson, and this is a strange one because they've arrested somebody, but they haven't found her. The ex-boyfriend was arrested, I think, and charged with. But this happened almost 6 ago. A parent should never have to bury a child, but losing a child to the unknown, having no body and no answers, is a different kind of hell. So. This was done 2 years ago. Deb Johnson is living that nightmare almost 6 years ago, which would be 8 years ago now. Tiffany Johnson vanished on an autumn night in Texas at the hands of an ex. And here we go.
Tiffany Johnson. She disappeared October 10th, 2016, the day she met her ex-boyfriend in a Texas parking lot. But many wonder if Tiffany really knew the man she was about to come face to face with, a man who is now spending the rest of his life behind bars. Correspondent Marky Martin joining us live tonight. Marky, I know you sat down with Tiffany's family this week and also talked to law enforcement who are working this case since the very beginning. And there's a lot we've learned about her disappearance.
Hey, good evening, Marnie. There certainly is. It's a chilling case. Tiffany Johnson was a beautiful, then 25-year-old woman who's been missing now since the fall of 2016. As you mentioned, the last person she was seen talking to was her ex-boyfriend at her apartment complex. We're here at that building right now. Well, now that ex is serving a life sentence behind bars for her aggravated kidnapping, and Tiffany's disappearance, not the only disappearance he's been linked to.
You back home now, Vid, or are you still out there? I keep forgetting you were out there. Yeah, Dave's not here yet. The Delphi case is one of those, you know, somebody's going to get upset. But it is the trial week, so, I mean, it's been 7.5 years of hell, really, for a lot of people. You're here? You're in Delphi?
People don't just disappear. He's somewhere.
A parent should never have to bury a child, but losing a child to the unknown, having no body, no answers, is a different kind of hell.
I told him he ever hurt her, I'd kill him.
Deb Johnson is living that nightmare.
And this is where we ended up at.
Almost 6 years ago, her daughter Tiffany vanished on an autumn night in Texas at the hands.
Yeah, I've always felt bad for Anna and Carrie, for sure. But, oh, you've been home from Delphi. Okay. Gail Hurd is still here. I hope I'm not boring anybody too much.
Of an ex. To her family, Tiffany.
Right, so hold on a second. Let me share this here because I found it here. Tom Webster is so awesome. Tom Webster is such a great guy. He just is. All right, so let's read a little bit about this. Recordings of Tiffany Johnson and camera rolls filled with photos are how loved ones keep her memory alive. 8 years. So this write-up was done a couple of days ago, updated. Play this in a second or two. We know now as much as we did from the beginning. I think this is the mother. Johnson's lost count of how many times they've organized search parties for the daughter. In October of 2016, shortly after Tiffany went missing outside of her Fort Worth apartment, the searches were frequent and filled with volunteers. And then in 2019, a jury found Tiffany's ex-boyfriend, Christopher Revelle, guilty of kidnapping her. So he went on trial for kidnapping charges. As the trial wrapped up, loved ones say many seemed to forget she was still missing, but they remained dead. This is going to suck. There's a gap in my heart that can't be healed until she is found. You know, I can't go to a grave site, you know, and talk to her, celebrate her birthday, anything. So this is awful. So the 8th anniversary, so 8 years later, Tiffany's disappearance, her sister Keisha Krause and Aunt Janelle, I'm not going to even try to pronounce this, have joined Johnson in Texas to search it again. We're basically doing searches again. We did 2 hours today, and we're going to go out again tomorrow. We've another small crew. We're going to go starting at 8 o'clock. We're going to meet. All right, so let's go back to this. I try to cover at least one of these cases a week, one of these
Is known as Pippi or Kit Kat, the one whose dimpled smile could light up a room. Her Instagram page paints the picture of a typical 25-year-old. Selfies.
I think so. It depends on what setting. Sometimes you got to put it on the setting, but I think most of them do it on their own. Tom Webster's a great guy. I was following Tom Webster way back when he was just getting going. He did the first or second video where he actually tried getting in touch with satellite companies to see if they could. That's the thing, right? It was way back then where I learned about the vehicle, because that's what he was saying. And it was a white vehicle. But I think he went to some of the satellite companies from different countries to see if he could get an image of the vehicle. So it's been that long. I mean, I've known about the vehicle the whole time. Well, not the whole time, but 4 years.
Fun nights out with friends, quotes about love, and 2 seemingly happy photos with former boyfriend Christopher Reville, a man and relationship her family calls controlling.
He was very jealous of Tiffany. Tiffany and I had conversations about Chris. If something didn't go his way, it was Tiffany's fault. He would.
I think that's
Conversations about Chris.
Janelle Hofelt.
If something didn't go his way, it was Tiffany's fault.
He would tell her what to wear, what was appropriate to be with him, you know, how she should look.
Hey, Jay, it's good to see you. JC. Sorry for butchering the name. I'm just going to call you Ann. Live at 8. Yes. Tom has a lot of good work. The other guy that used to follow the case is Bad Habits Kingdom. He was really good too.
You know, don't wear makeup.
I don't know if he's still doing it or not, but
if you're out alone.
They dated for about 6 months before Tiffany broke things off and tried moving on. In October of 2016, Tiffany was hanging out with her twin brother and his girlfriend at their apartment near Fort Worth. A new guy she was spending time with was about to come over when Reville showed up instead. The two took what became a heated conversation outside. Tiffany hasn't been seen since.
Lead detectives and investigators are looking at a 90-minute window.
Sergeant John Phillips with the Fort Worth Police Department responded to the scene that night and has been on the case since the 911 call came in.
It was a missing person. It was a probable kidnapping. It was all wrapped up in the relationship that they were in.
Authorities found Tiffany's keys, her cell phone, and her sock in the parking lot. Reville had driven off, but then returned to the scene.
Once we started interviewing Chris, yes, we knew because of the answers that he was giving to the questions. We knew he was being deceptive about specific events. That led us to be very suspicious that something bad had happened to Tiffany.
Reville was arrested that night, and in 2019, he was convicted of Tiffany's aggravated kidnapping. But in a twisted turn of events, his sentencing, life behind bars, delivered after being connected to the disappearance of a second ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old Taliba Islam, who also disappeared from Fort Worth back in 2006.
I can tell you that emotionally, myself and a lot of the detectives that worked on this case imagined them together. They've become inexorably linked because of the circumstances of their disappearance.
Family across the country demanding justice.
You're in hell. This is It needs to stop. We need answers. We need Tiffany and Taliba home.
Deb Johnson still talks about her daughter in the present tense, preferring to believe Tiffany is still alive.
I just don't have that gut feeling yet.
Time passes, the years go on, and she has no peace.
Yeah, I don't go to birthday parties or family functions. I've missed reunions, I can't do them because Tiffany loved them. She loved to be with the family. She loved to be with friends, and she's not there.
And again, just to reiterate, Marnie, what is really bizarre, really strange about this case, you have 2 missing women, 1 man, 1 suspect, and not a single credible lead has come forward in all these years that either of them have gone missing. Taliba went missing 16 years ago, and Tiffany went.
I think I could do that. I think I could do JC as in JC Penny. So sorry, JC. Good to see you. Always good to see you in here. The only way I could do coffee. You don't drink coffee? Yes. Absolutely. No doubt. Love some lemon iced tea. I would drink iced tea, but I get way too much heartburn from iced tea. I used to drink it a lot. But iced tea, the heartburn would be.
Missing almost 6 now. Marnie.
Right. And Marky, the question is not really who's responsible, because that man is behind bars for the rest of his life, but it's what happened to these 2 women. Police still investigating both of these cases. What do they believe happened to these women?
Well, when you ask everybody involved, what do you think happened in the case? It depends on who you ask. I'll start with the mom. If you ask Tiffany's mom, like we mentioned in the piece, she still talks about her daughter as though she's still living. She believes she's been sold into a sex trafficking.
I don't understand how people can do it without coffee. Like, if I didn't have coffee, I probably would just, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to function. That's for sure. Diet Coke. Yeah, whatever. There's caffeine in that, though, right? Or is there no caffeine in Diet Coke? That's why they call it Diet Coke. But I'm pretty sure there's caffeine in that. You hate coffee? You drink coffee about once a week? Yeah, I can't do it without coffee. It's not gonna happen without coffee. It's just, yeah, that's what I thought.
Ring. Obviously, a heinous thought for any mother to have. And if that's reality, just a horrific reality for Tiffany to be living. You ask police what they believe happened, Marnie. They do think at this point they are looking for remains. And as Sergeant Phillips mentioned, they do imagine those 2 women have likely, if they are dead, have been buried together with the thought.
Well, there's 2 there's 2 kind of linked here to maybe the same person.
Being that if Christopher was behind this, if he buried Taliba back 16 years ago and had luck in hiding her body, he likely would have returned to that exact same spot. So police do believe the 2 women are deceased at this point.
A nightmare for both of these families, Marky. Talk a little bit about the area where Tiffany went missing. Is that close to where Taliba went missing? How far in proximity are these 2 cases related?
Yeah, so Marnie.
Sucks. It's awful. It's that's why you just want answers. That's all. I've been without coffee or anything, energy shots, etc., since I ended up in the ER. When did you end up in the ER? What the hell is going on in my chat? Yeah, we will never be able to live together. I'm literally a vegetable before I've had my coffee. Again, I can't do it.
This building, this complex right behind me, this is where Tiffany Johnson lived. This is the parking lot she went missing from. And it's interesting, you know, I mentioned in the piece, police are looking at a 90-minute window. He could not have gotten far.
In fact, in this house, people know not to talk to me before I've had my coffee because I don't know what I'm saying. Like I could probably burn the house down. I would never know. Oh, is that so? What happened with that? I just can't. I can't do it.
However, if you zoom out on a map here, you can maybe even tell here, there's a lot of wooded area. There are a lot of bodies of water. Part of the Trinity River runs through here, right next to Fort Worth. So he couldn't have gotten far, but there would be a lot of places to hide the body. And as far as exact distance, I can't exactly answer that, how far Taliba's case was from Tiffany's, but I can tell you both of them went missing from Fort Worth. So we're talking within what would likely be a 15-mile radius of one another. Marnie.
Well, the answers are out there. And Marky, I know we're all on the case. These families, more than anyone, want to know what happened. Thank you, Marky. Anyone with information on this case, please call the Fort Worth Police Department. We're going to put that number on your screen right now in the disappearance of Tiffany Johnson. And every single one of these cases that we cover, these people are important to the family and friends who want to know where they are. And we need your help to be telling these stories. If someone you love or you care about has gone missing, or you know of a case you think.
Are you bolting out of here, Vid? Thank you for coming in if you are. I hope you have a great weekend. Don't forget to set your clocks back. Thank you so much for coming in. Vid's got a great channel. Very, very entertaining channel. She does great work. It's always great when I can get there and get to a live. It's awesome.
That our team should be looking into. You can submit a request on our website, newsnationnow.com/missing. Also, we want you to stick around tonight because in just a couple of moments, we're going to be answering your questions and inviting you into the discussion on this week's missing case and the disappearance of Tiffany Johnson. So take out your phone or your computer and you can log on right now to Facebook or YouTube and then follow or subscribe to News Nation, and then you can submit your questions and comments. Marky Martin will be joining me live here for this Facebook Live as we talk more about this case, what police know, and there will be some details and also some interviews that you have not yet seen as part of our continuing coverage of tonight's missing case. So we'll see you shortly for that as soon as the show ends here. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find news.
I'll have to check that out, but if it was about cats, I get enough of them here in this house. But I will check it out. You didn't want to put your channel in here. So what am I doing now? I wanted to go here to this. A second here. We'll just touch on this really quick, and then Fort Worth remains. So let's play this here. 17 years after Fort Worth women went missing. Police say remains have been identified. So this is the other one, that the other victim here. Thursday, Fort Worth police confirm remains found near railroad tracks along South Hughes Avenue near East Rosedale Street. Back in March, belongs to Taliba Fatin bin Islam. So they found her. She was reported missing in 2006 at 20 years old. Years later, her boyfriend would be sent to prison for the disappearance of another Tarrant County woman, Typhine Johnson. I'm probably saying that wrong, Typhine Johnson. So this guy here, the ex-boyfriend, is responsible for this one here. But they identified these remains back in 2023. So let's play this.
Identified. Police say Taliba Fatin bin Islam was reported missing in 2006 when she was just 20 years old.
And years later, her ex-boyfriend would then be sent to prison for the disappearance
of another Tarrant County woman. Tiffany Johnson's disappearance made major headlines in North Texas. She went missing in 2016, 10 years after Islam vanished.
We have 6 cats. And we almost had another dog because my dog Selgic, the shepherd, which is sitting right over there, made it with Brooklyn, who's a Rottweiler, next door. So the mom is next door. We kind of live in a duplex here, so there's two sides. But he got with her. They're both purebreds, by the way. So he got with her over the summer, and she just had the puppies last week. And my daughter, they remember last week, my daughter was over there helping with the puppies. I think there was 10 puppies. So, but yeah, we have 6 cats.
Tonight, Allie Spilliard sat down
6 cats and the 2 dogs.
with Johnson's
But we don't have the rabbit anymore. The rabbit is dead.
family and the man who's led the search for both women.
We have. So this is hold on a second. So there's Fatin bin Islam there. So she was found. This one here we just talked about. 10 years apart here. Both boyfriends of this were the same guy.
For both women.
We had narrowed it down to about a 10-minute radius drive.
For 6 years, Art Solstein hasn't left a stone unturned,
We've searched between 80 and 100 square miles from our area here.
never giving up hope that the community could find Tiffany Johnson and Taliba Islam, 2 women who disappeared from Fort Worth a decade apart.
You know, a lot of times I'd ask myself, well, why aren't we finding things, right? Well, you just can't lose hope. You just got to keep doing it.
It's an effort that was met with bittersweet news this week as Fort Worth police announced human remains found near these railroad tracks along South Hughes Avenue near East Rosedale Street back in March were positively identified as Taliba Islam, 17 years after the then 20-year-old was last seen. My heart just dropped. Today, Tiffany Johnson's aunt reacted to the news. I feel so.
Though I was butchering the name, it's basically pronounced Tiffany, which makes sense.
Sorry for the family. My prayers go out to the family.
I apologize. I'm just really bad with names like that.
Despite the discovery, Janelle Hofelt says both families still lack closure as Christopher Ravel, an ex-boyfriend of both women, continues to withhold information. Though Johnson was never found, Ravel's serving a life sentence for aggravated kidnapping in her case. He's long been suspected in Islam's disappearance, but never charged.
How could he look at himself in the mirror every single day knowing what he did?
Now, as Islam's family prepares to finally lay her to rest, the search for Johnson continues.
I'm re-energized, okay, to seeing this to the end. So, and this is a big step. We find one, we'll find the other. That's the main thing.
Whose family, Barbara? I don't think you could ever sound bad, Barbara. Barbara's an awesome person. Name scrolling across the floor here, not the floor, but the bottom of the ticker here. Hopefully she's going to get some answers soon. Always thinking about Barbara Hall for sure.
I truly believe that.
Meanwhile, family holds on to hope.
Like Tiffany always says, never gonna quit. And that's what we're going to go by. We're never going to quit.
Fighting for justice for 2 women whose stories are now forever linked.
See, this is going to really suck, you know, when you don't have, I mean, how do I say this the nice way? The actual person, I know that you just need that, I guess. I mean, it's just so, it's going to be so debilitating. I mean, not knowing.
In Fort Worth, Allie Spilliards, NBC5.
All right, so that's the end of that one there. Hold
And there
on,
is currently a $20,000 reward for information.
I think that's $30,000 now for any information regarding Tiffany Johnson. All right, so let's get out of this here. That was the missing person case of the week. I'm going to do another one next week. Yeah, that's got to suck. So let's go to the D. Warner case. They got a trial date set for Dale Warner, the husband. So I don't know if anybody's been following this case here, but D. Warner vanished back in this is like one of the most popular cases, but one of the most probably talked about cases recently. Her remains were found. They finally found her remains a couple of months ago. I can't believe it's already been that long. August 2024 on the property of guess who? Hubby. Warner's charged with the unaliving of his wife, Dee Warner, who disappeared 3 years ago, back in April 25, 2021, whose body has not been found. That's wrong. They found a body. Now they're got a trial date set.
Michigan, where a September trial date has been set for the husband accused of murdering his wife and then putting her body in a sealed tank.
I am aware there's been some communication regarding scheduling trial dates, and it looks like the parties have agreed on a trial commencing September.
Here. Starting a Timothy Legacy Foundation to help some families, other families while I wait. That's awesome. Petition. Barbara, if you want to, you can put the petition in here. I've signed it for sure.
Second of 2025 and running through October 14th of 20.
I believe it's the petition to get justice for her son Timothy. Timmy D's here.
That's correct, Your Honor. That is correct.
Okay.
Defendant Dale Warner is charged with murder and tampering with evidence related to his wife's death. D. Warner was last seen in 2021. Dale told his family that he thought his wife had run off with another man. 3 years later, her remains were found sealed in an old ammonia tank on Dale's property. Here's Scripps News Detroit with a closer look at the case.
We're at the final resting place where we found Dee's body entombed in one of these
He put her in one of these things. This senseless bastard, literally.
anhydrous tanks.
It's Dee Warner's sister-in-law, Shelley Hardy, who took us to this barn, what was planned to be Dee Warner's final resting place by someone. Family believes that 3.5 years ago, when Dee disappeared, her husband, Dale Warner, brought a smaller tank, just like one of these, inside of this barn. They believe that he took off the front part, but Dee's remains inside and then welded it shut. It was Shelley's husband, Dee's brother, Greg.
One of these weeks, I'm going to try to get a panel week up here. I'd like to get Heather up here and Dean and a couple other people. Maybe talk about other stuff besides true crime. I don't know. We'll see. But you guys are all awesome. That'd be great.
Who tipped police off recently that they should look inside.
It was certainly tough for the family to face my sister's remains.
This poor guy right here has been through literal freaking hell. The whole family, but this guy in particular, because you could tell, it's family. It just sucks.
In a man-made tomb done by Dale Warner, who was a very evil piece of human debris.
Greg Hardy and one of Dee's daughters, Raquel Bach, addressed the media regarding the findings on Thursday, one day after the medical examiner identified them as Dee. In the years since Dee went missing, thousands have continued to look for clues, including the group Justice for Dee, which the family partially attributed this recent break in the case to.
That'd be awesome. Maybe we'll do that next week. If you guys want to come up, that'd be great. I'll put the link in the chat, and then we can just discuss whatever you guys want to discuss, whatever.
We cannot begin to thank you guys enough for sticking by our side and believing in us when we didn't want to believe in ourselves anymore.
The family is very open about their belief that Dee's husband Dale killed her. Any true closure for this family will be a long time coming, but at least now.
Because there's evidence, you can go with these domestic cases like this here. You'll have to check with my contact with. I'm pretty sure they can let you go for one night, buddy. Please do, Dean. Oh my God, you can't make this stuff up. Anyways, with these domestic cases, it's they do have evidence that it's, what is it, 7 times out of 10 it's somebody close, like the husband. It's
Dee's body and any rumor that she ran away can finally be laid to rest.
Her spirit's gone a long ways.
I think we knew that spirit and we weren't going to give up on her. We were going to fight till the end, and we're still going to fight to the end to see that she gets her justice due.
All right, let's bring in trial attorney, former prosecutor Sue Ann Robinson, and trial attorney and former public defender Gabrielle Higgins. Gabrielle, I'll start with you. I'm happy for the family, there's no doubt, to find the body. It's sad, the situation, but to have the body, I think, means everything, as you saw, to that family. My question is, what took so long? I mean, when she went missing, they searched all over. Someone had to know that there were tanks somewhere on this property that belonged to the guy who was the main suspect, obviously. That would be one of the first places I'd look.
No, I agree. It seems deliberate. It's almost like there's a glaring place that you should search, and it feels like willful blindness. It feels like there was a choice to avoid this area, and I'm interested to see why that choice was made. It is unfortunate that the body that this woman had to suffer in this way, and that her body had to be found in such an awful place. And I think that regardless, the family won't be made whole until they get the answers they deserve.
Yeah, you could see the anger of the father of the victim about who this guy is. And it turns out, not surprisingly, Sue Ann, that there was domestic violence in this family. You don't have to look much further than that when that type of situation exists.
Right, and it's very sad. Again, the backdrop of a complicated domestic situation that led to such a tragedy. I mean, to take a page from your book, Michael Ayala, to be the devil's advocate, the tanks look very significant. So I could see at the time them initially needing some additional materials or some additional equipment. But as Attorney Higgins said, you absolutely would look under those types of materials to see if someone possibly hid evidence under those. But I'm glad that the family is getting closure, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And apparently they were able to see the body using x-rays. So you didn't even have to open them to know that something was in there. They used x-rays and saw the body on the x-rays, and that's what led them to open it. So really interesting stuff there. All right, Gabrielle, where does the defense go in this case? The evidence clearly stacking up against this guy. They were going to try him for murder anyway. They were going to get her declared dead. But now that they have the body, it just adds to the problem, especially the fact that it was found on the property.
Yeah, I think that all you can do is argue reasonable doubt when your hands are tied in such an open and shut case like this. I think the issue is not only was the body found on his property, but also couple that with the history of their relationship and the tumultuous nature of it. It just, you have motive, you have opportunity, and now you have a crime scene. So it doesn't look right for the defense.
Yeah, no doubt. Means, motive, and opportunity.
Yes, anything, any topic, and I'll let everybody have the floor too if they want. If they want to talk about a specific thing, it's fine. Absolutely. Yeah, have a good night, Lady Monet. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm gonna do one more thing, and then I'm probably gonna get out of here too. All right, so that'll be going to trial at some point.
It all exists there for this defendant.
So we'll get out of this here, and I want to go to this one here. I've been following this. This was done 3 days ago. Hold on a second here. The Memphis Three. Yeah, we can do that for sure. This might be a little bit disturbing here. So I've been following this for a few days too. Mother and son unalived during a home invasion. Younger son shoots suspect here. Home invasion ended in a tragic loss for family already in the morning in California. Well, let's check this out. This is coming out of ABC 7 in Chicago. Crazy people.
Home on Berkeley Way in Tulare. It appears he sees the camera, then turns and moves on to another home nearby. That's where police say 30-year-old Fabian Gamez tried to enter through the backyard when he was confronted by the owner, 58-year-old Melissa Quinn. Detectives say Gamez attacked Quinn with a knife. Then her 38-year-old son, Raymond Garza, tried to intervene and Gamez began stabbing him.
Steve is an awesome person. Steve, True Crime Web Foundation, they're amazing people. And he's retired. He didn't have to do this stuff, but he's trying to help people that need the help. And I'm glad he's helping you because you got the right person there. That's for sure.
The mother and her eldest son both died from their injuries.
Losing them, not just one, but both at the same time, kind of huge hit to the family. They were our protectors. If anything happened, they were the first one to jump up and to defend their family members.
Michael Garza is Melissa's second son and Raymond's younger brother. He says their youngest sibling heard the commotion, came out and shot the intruder. He was able to keep the suspect from getting away until police arrived. There were more than 6 people in the home, including Melissa's father she cared for, and Raymond's children, ages 7, 9, and 19. The 2 youngest kids also lost their mother in 2019 and are now coping with the trauma of another tragedy.
They're scarred. What my nephew had to see, his dad dying on the floor after being viciously stabbed with an intruder.
Action News found Gamez has a history of run-ins with police. Detectives believe he'd been canvassing the area Wednesday night.
Detectives now believe that he may have been burglarizing in the area. So we are requesting the community that if they were a victim of a burglary on that evening, that early morning, to please contact the Tulare Police Department.
Gamez pleaded not guilty on Tuesday to 2 counts.
It's absolutely horrible. I mean, these things. Could be, absolutely could be. You never know the real story sometimes.
It's a first-degree murder and 1 count of residential burglary with special circumstances. The victim's loved ones say they will continue to fight for justice as they honor the mother and son.
They were always the limelight of any event they'd show up. Just their personalities were always glowing.
The family now left with only memories and heartbreak. Melissa leaves behind 6 grandchildren and 2 sons. Raymond leaves behind his 3 children. He was the only parent to 2 of them. The family has set up a GoFundMe page to help with funeral expenses, and Gamez is expected to be back in court next month. Live in Tulare, I'm Cassandra Gutierrez, ABC 30.
Let's hope they don't slap this guy's wrist again. And oh, you have to drink hot milk. I'm sorry. See here. Let's go here. Look at this one here. Hold on a second. All right, let me share this here, and then I'll get out of here. Let's do stop screen. All right, so this here is coming from the sidebar. This was done a day ago. Woman savagely unalived in the Hamptons luxury spa before cops find psychopath boyfriend dead. Police believe Thomas Gannon is connected with the unaliving of Brooklyn artist Sabina Rosas, who was found unalived at an expensive wellness retreat. Gannon was later found unalived by his own hand, hours away in Pennsylvania. Okay, let's check this out.
Is found dead at a luxury spa in the Hamptons. What exactly happened is still shrouded in mystery, as police say the culprit is also dead. This is a very strange situation as we discuss what his connection was to the victim, and will we ever really have answers? We're going to discuss it all with a former prosecutor turned defense attorney. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. I want to talk about Sabina Rosas, who also went by her given name, Sabina Coromdel. She was a rising star in the art world. But sadly, as I say many times here on Sidebar, that was cut short. You see, the 33-year-old who lived in Brooklyn was found dead at the Shosugi Bon House. This is an expensive spa retreat in the Hamptons on Long Island. It's often frequented by celebrities. They say that each time you stay
This place looks expensive.
there, it costs over $1,000. And an employee found her dead in a guest house on Monday. Now, police haven't exactly said how she died, but they did say that she was, quote, a victim of violence. So it's now up to a medical examiner to determine more information. And we'll discuss if we will get that information and when we might get it. But as this wellness retreat was transformed into a crime scene, investigators then went to the home of a man who was connected to Sabina. His name is Thomas Gannon. He lived about 4 hours away from the spa in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. That's about 200 miles away. And what do they find when they arrive at his place? The 56-year-old is dead. And they say it was from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. So investigators believe that Gannon is responsible for Sabina's death. The coroner for Wayne County, Pennsylvania, Edward Howell, told the news outlet The Independent that Gannon, quote, confessed to committing the homicide immediately prior to taking his own life. The coroner said that he, quote,
Did you find it, Gil? Melatonin. I swear by melatonin. The gummies.
confirmed the confession by reading a message the decedent sent to a family member immediately prior to his death. Now, rumors have been swirling about what exactly this connection was between Sabina and Gannon. Was he I hate to use this phrase, but was he, quote, a sugar daddy? Were they in a romantic relationship? Was he just kind of an art benefactor who invested in her, that he was invested in her success? It's not clear. And of course, that all seems to depend on who you talk to. You see, Sabina was apparently in a long-term relationship with another man, a man named Ryder Iwata, a fashion designer who she met at SUNY Purchase, also known as Purchase College, back in 2016. He spoke with the New York Post, calling Sabina, quote, the greatest love of his life and his greatest friend, and he called Gannon's alleged actions wicked and cowardly. Claims he only met Gannon once and got some kind of weird vibes from him. Wada says that by taking his own life, Gannon has deprived Sabina's family and friends from ever knowing the full story. And that's a really, really important point that we're going to dive into. Now, Suffolk County Police, they didn't confirm this relationship between Sabina and Gannon, but they did say it was, quote, domestic in nature. Wada told the New York Post that he didn't believe the relationship between Sabina and Gannon was romantic. But according to Liz Phillips, who's Sabina's art teacher, mentor, friend, Gannon was essentially obsessed with Sabina. She told CBS News on Wednesday that, quote, he had money and he wanted to help her and he wanted to be with her all the time. Phillips also said that Gannon gave her the creeps. And this Pennsylvania man's apparent generosity was on full display when Sabina announced that she was raising money to go to Portugal next month for her first artist residency. She said the trip was a birthday gift, but when you read the GoFundMe page now, it's almost...
You take the gummies, Heather? I take the, what is it, 10 milligrams? So I take the 2 gummies. It's either 5 or 10 milligrams. Of course, it goes along with my Zoloft. And then I take my Zoloft and the 2 gummies, and then I'm out like a light. Yes. Somebody named Gannon run the other way.
Kind of chilling in a way, because in the description of the fundraiser, Sabina wrote, "As I approach my 33rd birthday, I can't help but chuckle at the fact that 33 is often associated with the age of Jesus when he made his ultimate sacrifice. While I'm not planning anything dramatic, I see this year as a turning point in my life." And maybe not surprisingly, it appears that Thomas Gannon was the biggest donor to that GoFundMe. This is according to the website.
Some dollars.
It appears that he made a donation of $1,000 2 months ago, writing, "You have an amazing gift, and soon all the world will see. I love you." By the way, Thomas Gannon doesn't really have much of a criminal record that we could find. I mean, we put his name and location into the search on TruthFinder, and this powerful background checker only returned information about a few traffic citations. And by the way, Law and Crime, we partner with TruthFinder.
Does Ambien work for you, Barbara? Maybe you're taking too much, Heather, because I only take the 2. I forget the name brand of it. Getting expensive though. Yeah, it's like charge. I forget the brand that I take. I think it's like $10 a thing. Ambien never worked for me. Ambien was. I think Ambien actually made it worse. Xanax before you. For how many? Dave? The 1 Zoloft and 2 gummies. I think you're only supposed to take 210 milligram or whatever, 2 of them at a time. If you take too many, it could be have maybe adverse effects. Maybe
it's a black eye. Mugshot was reportedly taken in Miami when Sabina was charged with battery, but I'll tell you the exact circumstances of what that arrest was about, what might have come from any sort of criminal case. We weren't really able to find any record of it on the Miami-Dade court website. But here's what we do know. Sabina was born in Tajikistan in Central Asia, fled with her family during a civil war. She lived in Europe. She returned back to her country for a time before moving to the United States.
I'm a little slow. Hold on a second. I think there's there's 60. It's Natrol. 10 milligrams, Natrol, 90 gummies in there. Strawberry, 10 milligrams. So I take 2 of those. That's 20 milligrams. They say you're not supposed to take them every day, but I do.
States when she was 17 years old. She co-founded an art publication called Ruyo Journal, which shared this heartfelt message on Wednesday. Driven by her incredible energy and vision, Sabina moved walls so that gardens could flourish, inviting everyone seeking light.
Does the Ambien work for you, Barbara? Did you answer that already here somewhere? I remember my doctor gave me an Ambien pill when I was up for 3 days, and he said this should work. So I went home. I was so happy to have something because he didn't want to give me anything at all. He gave me the Ambien. I came home. I was so happy. I was going to sleep. I took it, and it's like jumping out of my skin. It was awful. Paula, you leaving? Well, that sucks. We like Paula. Paula's awesome. She has a great channel. We hope you have a great night and a great weekend. It's actually 3:30 instead of 2:30, but it's 2:30. How's that going to happen? Hope you have a great weekend, Paula. Thank you so much for coming in and the support. Appreciate it.
She shared everything she had and supported all of us. A beautiful soul and a gifted artist, she left an impactful legacy in the arts of Central Asia. The world feels empty without her. We love you, Sabina. Rest in peace. And Sabina's family, they also released a statement saying, as the eldest of 3 daughters, Sabina brought excitement, adventure, joy, and love to our family. We are devastated by this senseless loss and ask for privacy as we navigate this incredibly difficult time. We urge anyone with information regarding the circumstance.
So this is perfect time of the year for me. A lot of people don't like it when it gets dark early, but since I work nights and I'm up anyways, the darker it is, the longer the better. Like it's so weird how that works.
Circumstances of Sabina's death to come forward and assist the ongoing investigations. Your support during this challenging time is a testament to just how special Sabina was and will remain. After the autopsy, family members, they plan to have her body returned to her home country of Tajikistan for a memorial. So really sad case, and I want to delve into it a little bit more. Let me bring in my friend. I haven't seen her in quite some time. Criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, Julie Rendelman. Julie, so good to see you. Thanks for taking the time. First, you're from New York. The thing that shocked me, and we'll talk about the initial impressions of the case, is this happened in the Hamptons, like essentially the Hamptons, right? Watermill. And this kind of stuff doesn't necessarily happen. It's kind of shocking when you think about the location of where this occurred.
Sure.
Paula's awesome. Paula's a great person. She's got a great channel. Hope she has a great weekend. Appreciate all the support for sure.
Look, Watermill is in the Hamptons. It's an area where the well-heeled go during the summers and actually into the fall as well. And it's considered quite quiet. This is not an area where people worry too much about crime. And the specific location where this happened is a wellness retreat. It's a place where people go to relax, to get massages, to get the best nutrients and exercise. So it really is a shock. And I can only imagine what the individual felt like when they found her at this retreat.
How far do you think this investigation goes? You have somebody who it looks like police are saying is the killer. He's dead. How far does this investigation go?
So I think many people think, oh, they found him dead, that we're finished and there's nothing left to do. And that's just not correct. The police still want to establish that he is in fact the person that committed this crime. And I think they also want answers, not just for law enforcement, but they want it for the family, who probably feel, on top of the incredible loss, an incredible feeling of anger that because he's taken his life, they may not get those answers. So I think the autopsy is going to reveal quite a lot in terms of obviously the manner of death, and may lead them to that conclusion, which I think that they already probably have, which is that he is the person responsible. I think there's also going to be some why questions that they want to answer, and that's going to be something that law enforcement is going to do, again, not just for themselves, but for the family who want answers.
The fact that, unless we are disputing the findings that he took his own life, if he took his own life, that's evidence of consciousness of guilt, right? Or that could be.
Absolutely. And remember, they have video of him leaving by himself from the retreat. So it's not like, there was someone that took him out of there and that was kidnapping him. It seems clear, at least from the evidence we have so far, that his manner of death, and remember also that he contacted someone before he allegedly committed suicide to what he had done.
Can you talk about that again? Let me reiterate it in case, because I provided a lot of information. But again, the coroner in Pennsylvania told The Independent that Gannon, quote, confessed to committing the homicide immediately prior to taking his own life, that he confirmed the confession by reading a message the decedent sent to a family member immediately prior to his death. What do you make of that? What is that?
It's consciousness of guilt. I think anytime you have these confessions prior to death, we consider.
Here we go, right? This whole confession thing. But I've seen people fake this shit before.
Consciousness of guilt. Could someone confess that didn't do a crime? Certainly. But I think that especially because, remember, he's the only person that had access to her in the retreat. He's the person that left by himself, leaving her behind. And then we have him hours later committing suicide. I think that, again, these are all pieces of evidence that law enforcement are going to use to establish that he is the person responsible for this crime.
And it's interesting because you hear the frustration when somebody does this, that you're never going to get the full story because that person's not here. And yet that message could have been some.
It might be going through court for 4 weeks and waiting 3 years for a court date and a trial and dealing with the trial, all of that stuff. So sometimes be careful what you wish for.
Window into what happened here, right? I mean, the idea of he's admitting it, you don't always have that. So I'm curious what that message is and how much it's being analyzed by investigators.
You know, it seems like the law enforcement didn't have to look far to figure out who the person was that was responsible.
What the hell is going on in the chat? Now Gail wants to be a drug pusher. What the hell is going on? Especially the hard stuff. Fuck.
Responsible. And obviously this gives law enforcement answers as to who did it, but I think this wasn't a whodunit from the start. And I think the frustration for the family is even when someone survives and goes to trial, we don't necessarily ever hear what the reason was that they committed this crime. But at least there's a chance they will. And instead now they have to literally put the pieces together to make up their own version.
Is that even a thing? Is Alka-Seltzer peddling even a thing? Because I got plenty of that shit here. We'll be rich.
As to why this person would take the life of their loved one.
Do you know when would we get the medical examiner's findings about what happened to Sabina? And so what's that time frame, and how quickly could the family know? How quickly could us, the public, know?
So I think the families
will be Breaking Bad to the Alka-Seltzer gang. All the cool kids are doing it.
going to know obviously much quicker than we do. Law enforcement is going to know quicker than the family. And so a medical examiner in terms of an autopsy is fairly quick. It usually happens within the week. And then there's someone usually that reviews the medical examiner's findings to make sure they're accurate. And so I think that the family is going to have answers quite quickly. We, the public, are going to have answers shortly thereafter.
Because when you have, like in this example, 2 people dead, and there's going to be no criminal case by all accounts, do investigators, law enforcement, prosecutors, are they more open with that information?
It's a good question. I think one of the things they want is the public to provide them with also additional information as to the why. Is it possible that he's the victim of a homicide? It's possible. I think from all accounts, it doesn't look like that's the case. But again, it doesn't mean that law enforcement just stops there because he left a confession and he's now dead.
What is simididine? Do you have, not going to ask.
I think they still want the answers before they close their case.
I'm still confused about his relationship. What stands out to you about that? With Sabina, I still don't quite understand it.
So look, people have relationships all the time that they keep very quiet. You talked about the idea, and we hated to use that word sugar daddy. We just don't know what their relationship was. We certainly know she had a long-term relationship with someone else. And we know that they both ended up at a fairly expensive retreat quite recently in the Hamptons. Keep in mind that often if you go to some area like that in the fall in the Hamptons, you probably are in a position where you want to keep things quiet because it's not going to be incredibly crowded during that period.
Let's hope it goes well, Gail. It's for stomach pain, nausea, and all that stuff. Oh, so it's like Pepto-Bismol or something like that? It's over the counter.
Period of time. So that may give some sense of where they were in their relationship.
That's the end of that. Okay, well, we'll just wanted to play that one because it sounded a little weird. That's it. I'm going to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for coming in here and joining the chat tonight. I appreciate everybody's time. It's awesome. You guys are fantastic. I'm probably going to do one more on the. Hopefully, we get an answer on the Delphi thing this week here. But that's it for that. Hopefully, the defense rests this week, and we get some sort of an answer for a. Okay, yes. Did you put your channel in here, JC? Anyways, I want to thank everybody for coming in. Thank you, JC. Thank you, Heather. Heather's awesome. Gil Hurt, thank you so much for coming in. We'll try to do that panel thing next week. I'll let you know. Dean, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, if you want to put your channels in here, go right ahead. That's why I gave you wrenches, just in case you have a channel or want to promote somebody else's channel, you can in here if you got a wrench. FarQ, you're awesome. Thank you. I didn't know you were still in here. Thank you so much. We love you too, Heather. I hope you feel good. Hope everybody feels good. Let me see who else was in here. Barbara's awesome. Always thinking about you, Barbara. Thank you so much for coming in. Barbara's an awesome person. Let's see here. Who else is got in here? I know Marv was in here. Marv's got a great channel. I have no problem with other people's opinions at all. I just don't. I know Lady Monet was in here. Thank you, lady, for coming in. Dean's awesome. Dean's a great guy. Paula was in here. Paula's great. I know that Luis Cuevas was in here. Luis Cuevas is a good person, very good person. Miracle Hearts 2 was in here. Miranda Lee was in here. She got out of here because she doesn't like me talking about Delphi, but I hope she's feeling good. One thing Gray Hughes is right about is once you start talking about Delphi, the crazy people come out. Who else was in here? Rubius Honey Tea. Vid Inquiries was in here. She's got a great channel. Vid's awesome. She's got a very, very informative channel. I was in here. Let's see here. Mustang 1965 was in here. I haven't seen Jenny 565309 in here for a while. Charlotte wasn't in here. I hope she's well. Oh, there it is. Okay, so there's Jason Yance, Crime Time 101 here. So we love you all too, Barbara. Barbara's an awesome person. I hope you guys have a great weekend and a great. Oh, I'm sorry. I was enjoying myself with you guys, but good night. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to do I know Necessarily Evil was in here too, so he's great. Cue the elevator music, absolutely. She said she was going to be off grid permanently. Who? Yes, justice for Abby and Libby, justice for Timmy D's, justice for the floor 4. Who's going to be Jenny is off the grid? Oh, that's too bad. I like Jenny. Oh, that sucks. I wonder what happened. It's a crazy world, man. All right, so I hope everybody has a good week. I'll play my outro and I'll get out of here. I was going to say I might do that's all she said, and then she was gone. Oh my God. Yes, we got her number. She's terrible. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's called good humor. Call her, would you please? I don't know if that number is going to work. I just don't. All right, I got to get out of here. Okay, 675 real next. We miss her though. She's the one that filled me in with the Miranda stuff. All right, so I don't want to do that. I just want to play my outro and get out of here. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you all later. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.